Thank you for staying with us. In 2018, February 2018, the Benue State government said to the people of the state, when bandits come, defend yourselves. Fast forward 2 years after, in 2021, August 2021, the government of Katsina State said the same thing. And the current one from the Zamfara state government is perhaps the most daring of all. Get guns, defend yourselves against the bandits. Now, there are many questions around that. The insecurity issue seems to just be going the way it is going, and questions continue to abound. On whose side is who depends on exactly which side you stay. Let's have a conversation with Boyega Adijimo, who is an Afenifere Chieftain, and he joins us virtually from Ibadan. Thanks for joining us this morning. First of all, on this issue, just where do you stand? The army is saying, and the police are saying, it's not the way to go. It is very dangerous to give guns to those who are not trained to use the guns. What's your position?
Good morning, and it's good to be back here again. Yes, I'm an Afenifere Chieftain, but I'm here basically from the press release that came from me yesterday, and it's on the platform of those of us who are traditional chieftaincy title holders of the institution on the office of the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba land. That's the Legalizing. And we've been involved in many things, including protecting our people. We were in war. And we've gotten certain information, which, of course, after processing, we came out with this release supporting the move by the governor of Zamfara. And perhaps the idea is to put into critical analysis how we got here and how this position has now been held by us. And I will explain. We have had series of very dire straits. All over Nigeria, we can say we are in a state of war. And we have those who are holding us hostage. We have terrorists that people call bandits, and I don't know why they should be called bandits. The acts are acts of terror. A bandit will probably want to steal from you, will probably want to, just make money or just make a gainful employment. But what these people are doing is different. They are taking the land, they are killing people for no just reason. They are going to houses of worship to just kill people. These are acts of terror, and it should be defined as such. And when you have these acts of terror, then how do you respond when we have a government that is prevaricating to them? And what the other governors have had to say, just like you have chronicled from 2018, is to talk about the deficit that we have in our security infrastructure as well as in our security architecture. It is unfortunate that 62 years after independence, we are still operating a mono police kind of security infrastructure. It is simply unfortunate. A central command from Abuja, a governor that is meant to be the chief executive officer who cannot order ordinary sergeants to go and do something in terms of securing the lives of the people. And that one will have to say that I will have to take orders from my boss. And who is the boss? Maybe the Assistant Commissioner of Police. And we have an elected government with the appellation supposedly derivable from the Constitution that we say is faulty. So what do? we are left with no other choice other than to seek self-help. It's as simple as that. The citizenry of this country have been debased, they have been abused, they have been reduced to helplessness. We are just at the mercy of those who will come into our homes and our farmsteads to kill, maim, and destroy. And what then do we have to do? In every society, you and I are supposed to be upholding the law. And part of what we need to do is even to make arrests. The only thing we can do is go ahead and pass judgment. We can arrest them and then take the person to the police station. But then what happens?
Perhaps a little more perspective, since you give us that perspective. Nigeria, we're not new to armed robbery, banditry, if I can just stay with that for a little while. But perhaps the difference is that back in time, there were faces to the groups. I reference the Oyenusi era, where everyone knew that this guy who was a commercial bandit, if I can use the term. Of course, the security system took care of him. Then there was the Lawrence Anini saga at the time when everyone knew who he was, even though he also operated with a team, but you got him, you got his team. The challenge now is knowing the leader of each of these bandits, groups, and all of that. Perhaps that is the difference. There are those who have also said that maybe because even the police system themselves are handicapped with personnel and with equipment to do their jobs. Consequently, this is where we are. So I'm wondering if you think maybe if the police or the security system had enough to do what they needed to do, maybe we wouldn't have this call for people to carry arms and defend themselves.
It goes a whole lot beyond that. You actually gave the insight into how it all started. But then, of course, it started after the Civil War. There was this influx of small arms as well as dangerous arms, assault weapons. That came from the backlash of having to have gone into a war that threw up all manners of weapons into the system, and some people took advantage. But again, if you do the same thing all over again and you are getting the same results, it simply shows there is a failure somewhere. Why have you not been able to identify that? The 1963 Constitution, that is like 59 years ago, gave us the ability to organize at the level of the local government police. But we are talking of 59 years later, we don't even have local government police, let alone the state police. Now we know what has happened. People have talked. There was Baraje who said, look, these people were brought in after the 2015 election. Nobody has said anything. There was Commodore Lawumi who opened up and said that we have over 200 names of these people we submitted to the president. Nothing has happened. Some of them, the kingpins, those who organize all of this, have found themselves into governors, governors, senators, and the rest. Nobody's talking. So what do? It is not the failure of the citizenry. It is the failure of government. It is the failure of those who are at the aims of affairs of this country, not to have seen what is going on here. If we had tackled this issue with the 1999 Constitution, to have provided in this day and age the right security architecture, like we have in the United States. We have at the county level, we have the sheriff, and we have his team, and those are in the suburbs. Then you have the state police, like the NYPD, the New York Police Department, LAPD, and the rest of them. And then you now have the FBI, 3 layers. Apart from that, each state in the United States has its own militia. They have all of these mechanisms to deal with insecurity. I was opportune to have traveled with the Areno Kakanfo about 2 years ago when a monarch in Yoruba land was abducted. When we got to the place, we realized that there was no police station. It was just a police post and only 2 policemen with baton, not even 1 gun. The society, the community is comprised of no less than 20,000 people. How do you make sure that you secure that land? How do you make sure you secure the people? How do you make sure you secure the property? We've been advocating for this. Well, maybe because it's coming from some of us that are seen as, well, in this country, we know that there are people treated as second-class citizens. But then if it's coming from Zamfara, of course, they got away with political Sharia. If it's coming from Kaduna, the man that used to pay terrorists not to kill rather than arrest them, we have seen people go into the bush and to meet these same terrorists with, of course, their paraphernalia, which is, of course, having to string bullets all around them with security men who are not arresting them. So what do we have? We have close to anarchy. The only thing we can do now is to have a balance of terror. Let all of us be able to carry guns, and let us have a deterrent. Let's have a situation where someone will know that I am capable of defending myself.
Well, Chief Adeyemo, you said something the other time. My sincere apologies. You said something the other time that perhaps could stave off this near-terror balance that you talked about. You talked about the local government system. You talked about the local government police. That's what you mentioned. But even now, we don't even seem to generally across many states have a functional local government system, much less a local government police system. And there are governors in those states. If we have that, we have the political class, we have traditional rulers and traditional rulers in council, such as your distinguished gentle self. Is it possible? There are those who might say, all these people know what to do. Maybe they're just pretending that it's not a problem. Would you then say that the governors don't know what to do when the local governments are not, as many people believe, as autonomous as they ought to be? Consequently, even the local government systems are not functional as they ought to be. Some people have said that's the first line of defense.
That would be a disservice to the governors of the southwestern states who came up with the brilliant idea of Amateku, and some people are trying to kill it. Look, we have a situation. And
just 1 second, Chief. On that one, I'm not talking about the Amateku. I'm talking about local government councils being functional with their executives.
I was going to come down to that.
Okay.
You still need a certain amount of authority, a certain amount of wherewithal, of the kind of resources to be able to maintain a semblance of security. And I will tell you something else. Afenifere and the OPC, about 2 years ago, we decided that if the government is not going to do something, we've got to do something. And we went around, we saw the Obas. We were able to put together a group called the Southwest Stakeholder Security Group. And we were able to put together the Agbekoya. We were able to put together the Vigilante. We were able to put together the traditional security agencies. And we formed a group. And we are doing all of that. And even in certain places, that is the only security that we have. But again, we are handicapped. Will they allow us to carry the kind of arms to be able to face terrorists? That is the question. That's what brings me back to Amateku. I was part of the formation. I was part of those who defended the bill. I was part of those who put the input there. But the powers that be refused to allow Amateku to carry the right kind of arms. And let's face it, you still need certain amount of training. You need certain amount of intelligence network. You need certain amount of technology. And I'm talking here of the Southwest because that is my constituency. And I know exactly how the Amateku was put together, the number of months that it took to give them the basic kind of training. But look at what they are doing. The situation in Owo, I was there. The people have been apprehended. And the fact remains that we could do so much more with a better trained, better equipped security architecture. And we are saying we could do more with the people having the awareness that nobody is coming to come and help you. And that is a pathetic situation in which we have in this country. If you are waiting for government, Tiwa Danjuma said so. You're not going to get help. Seek help. Those who are saying this even military experts, they are security experts, and they are chief security officers. So we have very little to add to this other than to say to Nigerians, do not let this country become like the Central African Republic. We had the situation in Bangui in which the terrorists, which they too were calling bandits until they took over government in 2013, made that country ungovernable. The only thing the government could do was hold on to the capital. 2/3 of the states of Central African Republic was taken over by the Selaka. And it will get there if we don't do something. We are on our way. We have to be able to defend ourselves. It may surprise a lot of people that we have come out to support Matawalle on this matter. But the truth is this: it is you, where the shoe pinches, that you will know what you have to do to make sure that you give yourself the kind of support and you give your people the kind of leadership you protect. And that is what is written in the Constitution. The very first section actually says,
speaking about what is written,
to protect. But
what the governor says
to seek self-help.
Right. Well, what the governor says is, well, they need to apply. I mean, there are forms that they need to fill, then apply to the IGP and then probably the president. If they then approve of your application for license to own firearms, and according to the Firearms Act, you can only own a Dane gun for hunting, and not necessarily for self-defense. So, isn't it tantamount to supporting? How are you supporting him when he says, "Look, the law says it's for hunting"? So, wherein comes the self-defense bit here?
Then, is the law meant to strangulate the citizenry, or is the law meant to strengthen the citizenry? In which case, why are we not looking at the laws? Why are we not making it particularly important that our governors, our legislators look at the law in such a way as to bring support to the people by reviewing the laws? And in the release that came out yesterday, which was signed by me, we appeal to the governors of the Southwest to quickly put into motion everything within their power in the state houses of assembly and in every other legislative function that we can think of to bring together quickly the kind of laws that will allow for the citizenry to be able to defend themselves effectively.
Okay, so as we wind down on this, I mean, assuming those applications were to also flood in from areas where you say we should all apply, and some get, and people own it, what do you see playing out, especially in consideration of how challenged the security agencies are, particularly the police, with respect to forensic investigation? How do you then ensure, look at the judiciary, cases are there for a longer time than people expect? The framework isn't there to regulate how people use some of these things. Do you have the database to find out who is where, who owns what? So if you throw in this in the midst of all of this, isn't that a recipe for a lot more chaos?
Are we simply going to roll over and die simply because we think we don't have the right processes? The human mind is dynamic. Some minds came together to decide that we are going to have a Motekun. People didn't even think that we are going to have the semblance of the kind of successes here and there that a Motekun has been able to garner. It is simple. You put in the plans, then you set up the processes, and then you follow up with the right ideas. You set up the right bodies. You create even more courts.
Okay.
You do all of that, which are going to be support system to making sure that this plan of having to sustain the idea of self-help.
Is it then about getting arms for self-defense or reorganizing the security architecture?
The security security architecture, we know what it is. And don't let us even begin to go there. If it is adequate, then we won't be talking like this. If in their wisdom, Mr. President and the National Assembly are seen through it, then they will have implemented that aspect of the 2014 confab that said that quickly enough, state police should have been created. That was way back in 2014. Then we would be here where we are today.
Well, most certainly, Chief.
The negligence of government cannot be put on to the citizenry.
Okay.
It is their responsibility.
Yeah.
And where they fail, we have the responsibility to take it up upon ourselves.
Okay. Well, I guess as we often say on this program,
it is well within the charter of the OAU.
Yeah.
For self-help.
It's always a conversation starter, you know, every time we have conversations like this, because we can never really exhaust them. But we have to thank you at this time for being a part of our program. Digimo is an Afenifere Chieftain, and as he said, he is a member of the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba Land in Council. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
And please, next time, please spare a minute for the victims of Nigeria, not just of war, who have suffered in the hands of terrorists.
Most certainly. Thank you so much.